In this project, I am going to create an Angular reactive form. This is the final output of this project. As you can see, the form will check whether the user entered any valid email or not. If the user entered an invalid email, it will show an alert. In this form, I added validation for every field. Name is required. In font field, only digits are allowed and the minimum length is 10. If you add anything other than number, it will show an alert and the form become invalid. In message also, I added a minimum length. The message should contain at least 10 characters. Send message button will only get activated after user enter all valid details. This will prevent user from submitting the form before entering all the details. When user click the send message button, all the details will be saved and we will clear the form. You can see the details on console. All the details are printed inside the console. You can download this entire project. The link is given in the description. Okay, let's start creating this project. Already created an HTML template and added some CSS classes so that we can focus more on the Angular part. I'm going to run this project. Let's type ng-serve. Open this project. As you can see, I created an HTML form. No functionality is added to this form. It's just CSS and HTML. I am going to show you how to add all this functionality using Angular. First, go to app.model.ts. We are going to add a reactive form model inside imports. And we also need to import a reactive form model from Angular forms. Now go back to app.component.html. Inside form tag, add form group attribute and set the value as exform. It's the name of the form group. Inside name input, add form control name equals name. You can give any value you like to the form control name. Inside email input, add form control name equals email. Similarly, inside phone, add form control name equals phone. We use text area for message. So inside text area tag, add form control name equals message. Now go to app.component.ts and remove this title variable. Next step is to add onInit and import onInit from Angular core. Now create an ng-onInit function. Now create a new variable called exform and assign the type form group and import form group from Angular forms. Go to app.component.html. As you can see, we already given the value of form group as exform. Go back to app.component.ts and inside ng-onInit, create a new form group by typing this.exform is equal to new form group. Next step is to add form controls inside a form group. First add a name form control. Type name new form control null and validator required. Import form control. Import form control from Angular forms. Also import validators also from Angular forms. Go to app.component.html. We already added form control name equals name. Validators.required is a built-in validator. You can find different validators in the official documentation. There are different validators. If you use required field cannot be empty, some value is required. There are also other validators such as email and minimum length, etc. You can find all this validator inside this official document page. Go back to VS Code and let's run this project. Open this project. Nothing is changed. Now we are going to change the value null to some string. Let's type my name. This is the default value for this field. Now open the browser again. You can see the default value of this field is my name. Refresh this project. You can see my name is not gone. Now go to VS Code. Change this value back to null. Add next form control. Type email, new form control, null, validator required, and validator email. There are two validators for email. One is required and other is email. Email validator will check whether it's an email or not. If you are using more than one validator, you should put that inside an array. The email we typed here is the form control name of the input field. Go back to app.component.ts. We need to add two more form controls. First one is for phone field. It's similar to email field. Only difference is the validator. We are using a different validator here. It's called pattern validator. First I am going to split this code into a few more lines. Okay, inside this pattern validator we can add a regular expression. This regular expression will check whether the user entered a valid phone number or not. If you are not familiar with regular expressions, please Google regular expression and you can find a lot of different documentations and tutorials. Next we are going to add controller for message field. It's similar to other form controls. Only difference is the minimum length validator. We are going to add a default validator minimum length. Min length 10 means the field required at least 10 characters, otherwise it will be invalid. Now run this project. Everything is working. Next step is to show this alert according to the validity of this form. Go back to VS Code. Go to app.component.html. Inside the name alert, type ngIf equals xform.getName.invalid. If name field became invalid, this condition become true and the alert will be shown. Xform is the name of this form and the name is the form control name. Run this project. Let's type something in the name field. As you can see, the alert disappear when I start to type something in this name field. But initially the alert is showing. We don't need to show the alert at the beginning. So we need to update our condition a little bit. Let's add an and type xform.getName.touched. This means that only this condition will work after the form gets touched. So the alert will not be shown initially. Let's run this project one more time. As you can see, now the alert is not showing. Only after touching the name field, the alert starts to appear. Now go back to VS Code. We need to add this to every field. So copy the ngIf condition and add that to the email field. Change the name to email. Email is the form control name. Also change this name to email. Now add the ngIf condition to phone alert and change name to phone. Here also change name to phone. Phone is the control name. Now add same to message field. Change name to message. Okay, now run this project again. As we can see, all the alerts are now gone. Alert only appears after we touch the field. This email field will check whether it's an valid email or not. If user entered an invalid email, it will show the error. As you can see, it is checking whether it's an email. In phone field, only digits are allowed. If we enter anything other than digits, it will show the error. This field required minimum 10 digits. Next field is the message field. We already set the minimum length for message field as 10. So we have to type at least 10 characters. Next we are going to disable this send message button and enable it only after user enter all valid details. So go back to VS Code and inside this button add disabled equals xform.invalid. Xform.invalid becomes true, the button will get disabled. That means whenever the form get invalid, the button get disabled. Initially the form is invalid, so the button is now disabled. I am going to fill this form with valid values. Button will be only get enabled after entering all valid values. Now you can see the button is now enabled. This way user can only submit the button after entering all the right values. Any field became invalid, the button will get disabled. Now go back to VS Code. Next step is to add a click event. I'm going to add a click event inside this button. Whenever user click this button, click sub method will get called. You open app.component.ts again. Now I am going to create that click sub method. So type click sub. Inside this method, we are going to log all the values from the form. Ex form is the name of the form and dot value will extract all the values from the form. Next, we are going to reset this form. Dot reset function will reset all the values in this form. Now go back to Google Chrome. I am going to type some dummy values. After entering this value, click send message. And let's inspect the console. In the console, we can see that all the values from the form are printed as an object. And we can retrieve this value and send it to the backend. I forgot one thing. Let's add some CSS styling. Go to app.component.css and type formController.ng invalid border 1 pixel solid red. If ng is valid, then change the color to green. When form is invalid, Angular add ng invalid class to the text field. And if the form is valid, it's add ng valid. So we change the color from red to green. If it's valid, we add green, and if it's invalid, we add a red. The form controller is the class we add to each input field. It's a bootstrap class. To select this class, we use dot form control. If you ever used bootstrap, you are already familiar with the form control class. It gives a style to text input. Form is invalid and user touches this form. ng touched and ng invalid is added, and ng valid is added when the form is valid. So we use these classes to give this extra style. When we touch and the field is invalid, it will give a red border to the text field. When the field becomes valid, the red color changes to green. These three classes ng touched and ng invalid, ng valid are all added by Angular itself. We are not adding any class. We are just using these classes to select text field and give additional styles such as the border color. You can also add additional styles. Let's go back to the app component.html. Next, we are going to shorten this ngIf code. As you can see, it's a long ngIf statement. We are going to move some of this code to app.component.ts. For that we are going to create some new methods. First method is name method, and we are going to return some values. Type return and go back to app.component.html and copy exform.getName and paste it after the return. So this name method will return exform.getName. Now in app.component.html, replace this with the name. Here also you can replace it with the name method we just created. The code was never changed. We just moved some of this code into the app.component.ts. Next we copy this method and paste it below, and we change the name to email. Also here we change the name to email and go back to HTML. Here we replace this with the email method. Here also we replace this with email. We need to repeat the same process for all the field. Now change email to phone. Here also change it to phone and go back to HTML and replace this with the phone method. Here also replace it with the phone method. Now do the same to message field. Let's create a message method, and in the HTML let's replace it with a message method. Now run this app. Go back to the browser. Let's quickly type some values and check everything is working. It's look like everything is working. Thank you for watching this video.